In relation to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 1 to 6, do you think Paul was talking about John's revelation in Revelation chapter 4, verse 1? So 2 Corinthians 12 is the famous passage where Paul says, I knew a man. And the question the listener is asking is that talking about John in Revelation chapter 4, verse 1? And what I'm going to tell you is I don't think so. I believe that in 2 Corinthians 12, Paul is actually writing about himself. So let's go through the verses together. We'll see if you reach the same conclusion. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 1. It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I will come to visions and revelations of the Lord. So what Paul's going to talk about in these verses is revelations. Verse 2. I knew a man in Christ above 14 years ago. Whether in the body I cannot tell, or whether out of the body I cannot tell, God knoweth. Such an one caught up to the third heaven. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell, God knoweth, how that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words which it is not lawful for a man to utter. Notice verse 5. Of such an one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory, but in mine infirmities. Now, what I would suggest to you is this. If Paul isn't talking about himself in this passage, why would he say, yet of myself I will not glory? In other words, if what he's really talking about here is some third person, why would Paul be glorying in himself anyway? In other words, if John received some revelation, why would that cause Paul to glory in himself? It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, what's going on here is that the revelation was given to Paul himself. Now notice verse 6. For though I would desire to glory. Well, why would he desire to glory? Because the revelations were given to him. I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth, but now I forbear lest any man should think of me above that which he seemeth me to be, or that heareth of me. And then verse 7, I think, conclusively resolves this. Notice what it says. And lest I, doesn't say and lest someone else, and lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh. What 2 Corinthians 12:7 is saying is this. Because of the abundance of revelations given to whomever it was, they would have reason to glory. And so that person, whoever it was given a thorn in the flesh. Well, who was given the thorn in the flesh? It was clearly Paul that was given the thorn in the flesh. So it seems very clear that what's happening here is the revelations, the abundance of the revelations were given to Paul. So what we think is the case is in 2 Corinthians 12, when it talks about the abundance of the revelations, it is referring not to John in Revelation chapter 4, but it's Paul talking about himself.